this is Midnight Mommy. So for today's tutorial, ituturo ko sa inyo yung projectile motion na non-horizontally launched. So ibig sabihin, meron na tayong certain angle na pinag-uusapan dito. Before ako mag-solve ng mga problems for projectile motion for non-horizontally launched cases, illustrate ko muna sa inyo yung concept. Okay, so let's just say ito yung level ground, and then let's say meron kang ball na gusto mong i-launch at a certain angle. Okay, so syempre pag ni-launch mo to at a certain angle, with a certain velocity at a certain angle, theta. Okay, so ang movement niyan, move siya pataas and then parabolic motion like this. Okay, and then darating yung time na yung maximum point niya, ma-reach niya dito sa taas. Okay, so before siyang bumaba. So let's call this maximum point as your dy. Okay, and then yung ating horizontal distance, in some cases you call this as the range. So from here, from the starting point to the landing point, okay, so this horizontal distance, we will call this as your dx. So papansin niyo parang rainbow siya. Kasi doon sa case ng horizontally launched, parang half lang siya. Okay, so this time, buo na siya. Okay, so ang first na kailangan yung malaman is that kapag nagsosolve kayo ng projectile motion na mayroong non-horizontally launched cases, kailangan nyo munang isolve yung ating Vix and ating Viy. Okay, so yung initial horizontal velocity and initial vertical velocity. Okay, so paano natin masosolve yun? Ang Vix masosolve natin by multiplying your velocity to cosine theta, yung cosine ng ating angle. And then yung inyong Viy, okay, mako-compute natin yan by using V times the sine of the launch angle. Okay, so ito yung una nyong kailangang isosolve. Okay, kapag nagsosolve kayo ng mga problems for projectile motion na mayroong given angles. And then, an interesting thing dito is that pagdating dito sa highest point ng ball, pag na-reach niya yan, okay, yung ating Vf along the y is just equal to 0. Okay, so ano ibig sabihin nito? Yung final velocity mo at this point na vertical is just equal to 0 kasi momentarily mag-i-stop yung ball before siya bumaba. Okay, before siya mag-land. Okay? So at this point naman, paano mangyari dun sa Vfx natin? Okay, ano yung value at this point? At this point, equivalent to sa ating Vix. Okay, so it means na yung ating horizontal velocity, just like dun sa unang case ng horizontally launched, this one is just equal to a constant. So constant siya, hindi ito nababago. So that means ang Ax natin is equal to 0. So along the horizontal, wala tayong acceleration. Now, yung ball, remember, it is on the air. So anything na object na nasa area siya, parati nating sinasabi na meron tayong acceleration due to gravity. Kaya meron tayo ditong Ay na ang value is negative 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay. Now, another interesting thing here is that yung time for the object to go up from the launching point up to the highest peak, up to the time na from nandun siya sa highest peak going down is just equal. So yung ating P up, time going up is just equal to the time going down. Okay? So pag sa projectile motion, meron tayong tinatawag na time of flight. Okay? So pag sinabi nating time of flight, ang ibig sabihin nun, ito yung time from the ball na na-hit natin, okay, na-launch natin, up to the time na na-hit na yung ground. So ang time of flight natin, therefore, is just equal to 2, okay, this is just equal to 2 times yung time going up or yung time going down. Okay? So ganun po yung pagkukumpit sa kanya. Okay, so para mas makita ngayon natin kung paano ito ginagamit ng problem, bibigyan ko kayo ng example. A long jumper leaves the ground with an initial velocity of 12 meters per second at an angle of 28 degrees above the horizontal. So determine the time of flight, the horizontal distance, and the peak height of the long jumper. So dami natin kailangan isolve. Okay, so again, identify muna natin yung mga given natin. So meron tayong initial velocity dito na equal sa 12 meters per second. And then meron tayong angle, yung launch angle natin, which is 28 degrees. Okay? So, kailangan natin hanapin yung time of flight, yung horizontal distance, dx, at saka yung peak height. So, tawagin natin siyang dy. Okay? So, dun sa problem, obviously, so since projectile motion case to, ibig sabihin yung ating long jumper is, of course, hindi pa siya sa ere. Kaya meron tayong AY, yung vertical velocity niya would be equal to negative 9.8 meters per second squared. And then yung AX niya, always remember, this is equal to 0 kasi yung VX natin is a constant. Okay, so ang una-una natin kailangan i-compute dito is, kunin nyo muna yung VIX and VIY. Okay, so VIX first. So mako-compute natin to by using V cosine theta. And then yung VIY is equal to V sine theta. So substitute natin yung mga values. So meron tayo ditong 12 meters per second times the cosine of 28 degrees. And then sa VIY naman, meron tayong 12 meters per second times the sine of 28 degrees. So pag ito, in-input natin sa calculator natin, ang makukuha nating sagot dito is 10.6 meters per second. And yung isa naman is 5.6 meters per second. Okay? So, given these values, okay, kailangan muna nating i-solve yung time. Okay? So, para ma-solve natin yung time, ang kailangan natin ma-solve dito na time is yung half lang naman. Okay? So, from the time na ni-launch na yung long jumper is nag-start from the ground up to the highest peak na na-achieve niya. Okay? So, isa nga pala sa mga kailangan natin din i-consider dito is yung VFY. So, kapag yung long jumper natin na-achieve niya na yung highest point, okay, yung highest peak niya, ibig sabihin yung VFY niya doon is equal to 0. At this point, isolve muna natin yung ating time. So, ang time na i-consider natin is yung time going up to the highest point. Okay? So, ano yung mga given na pwede natin i-consider? So, meron tayong VIY, yung na-compute natin kanina, na 5.6 meters per second. Okay, so remember this one is positive kasi going up yung motion ng ating jumper. And then yung ating VFY, so sa highest point na ma-achieve niya, magiging 0 na yung kanyang final velocity, final vertical velocity. And then alam natin na yung ating G or yung ating vertical acceleration is just equal to negative 9.8 meters per second squared. So given these quantities, pwede natin gamitin yung ating first equation. Okay? So meron tayong, i-rewrite ko lang to as VFY is equal to VIY plus AYT. Okay, so since alam natin ang VFY natin is equal to 0, makakancel na itong VFY dito. So therefore, itong VIY, transpose natin sa kabilang side. Kaya magiging negative VIY is equal to AYT. So to solve for T, divide both sides of the equation by AY. Yan, so makakancel na to. Okay? So yung time natin dito, yung time going up, that will be equal to negative VIY over AY. So lagyan natin yung mga values. So this is negative of VIY, that's 5.6 meters per second. And then yung AY natin, that's negative 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay. So yung time natin na makukompute dito, pag ginamitan nyo ito ng calculator, would be, ito is 0.57 seconds. Okay? So, para makuha natin yung time of flight, okay, so i-multiply lang natin to sa 2. Kasi yung time going up is also equal to the time going down. So yung buong time of flight is yung sum nun. Okay, so this will just be equal to 2 times 0.57 seconds. So makukuha nating sagot dito is 1.14 seconds. Yan ang ating time of flight. So next naman, isolve natin yung ating horizontal distance. Okay. So sa horizontal distance natin, anong pwede natin i-consider? Pwede natin i-consider yung ating VIX na equal sa 10.6 meters per second. And then, given tayo dito ng time. Okay. So yung time na pwede natin i-consider dito is yung time na 1.14 seconds. Yung na-complete natin kanina. And then, pwede rin nating, from this case, we also know that AX is equal to 0. Okay? And so, hahanapin natin dito ang ating BX. Okay? So, given these quantities, ano rito yung kailangan natin gamitin na equation? Okay, so, tingnan natin sa first one, hindi natin ito pwede gamitin kasi wala rito yung distance. So yung second one, okay, so pwede natin itong gamitin. So meron tayong dx is equal to vixt plus 1/2 axt squared. So again, yung ax is equal to 0, kaya makakancel na tong term na to. Okay, so therefore, your dx is just equal to vix times t. So compute natin. So ang vix natin is 10.6 meters per second. Multiply natin sa time na 1.14 seconds. So if you notice, makakancel natin yung unit ng second dito. Okay? Kaya ito is magiging meters. Yan. So yan yung ating dx. Okay. And then finally, compute natin yung the peak height of the long jumper. Okay. Okay, and then finally, susolve na natin yung peak height of the jumper. Okay, so paano natin masosolve yung peak height ng jumper? So, pwede natin gamitin yung mga values kanina na meron tayong VIY, which is equal to 5.6 meters per second. And then, alam natin na kapag sa highest peak, meron tayong VFY na equal to 0. Okay, and then meron din tayo ditong time. Yung time na na-compute natin kanina is equal to 0.57 seconds. Yan, para ma-reach na yung maximum height. And then yung AY natin is equal to negative 9.8 meters per second squared. So ang hinahanap natin dito is your dy. Okay. So based dito sa ating given, alin dito yung pwede nating magamit na equation. Okay, so to solve this equation, pwede natin gamitin either the first one or the second one. Okay, so alin dun sa dalawa yung pwede natin gamitin. So let's just say gamitin natin yung second one. Okay, so para masagot ang problem na to, we can use either the second equation or the third equation. So alin dun sa dalawa pwede natin gamitin. Okay, doon naman sa dalawa, parehas lang yung makukuha natin sagot. So ipapakita ko sa kanya mamaya na parehas lang yung makukuha natin sagot for that. Okay, so let's say gamitin muna natin yung second one. So sa second one, meron tayong dy is equal to VIYT plus 1/2 AYT squared. Okay, so magiging dy is equal to VIY is 5.6 meters per second times natin siya sa 0.57 seconds. So makakancel dito yung seconds. And then plus 1/2, yung AY natin is negative 9.8 meters per second squared times yung time natin na 0.57 seconds and then square natin siya. So makakancel din dito yung second squared. Okay, so dito, matitira na lang natin is the unit of meter. So pag in-input nyo ito sa calculator nyo, ang makukuha nyong sagot is 1.59 meters. Yan. Okay, so this time naman, gagamitin ko naman yung third equation para ma-solve natin yung ating distance. Okay, so kung gagamitin natin yung third equation, that is VFY squared is equal to VIY squared plus 2AYD. Okay, so since alam natin na yung VFY natin is equal to 0, so makakancel lang to. So transpose natin tong VIY sa left side ng equation. So magiging negative VIY squared is equal to 2AYD. Kalimutan ko yung y. So AYDY. So next, i-divide natin both sides of the equation by 2AY. Yan. So ito makakancel na. Kaya ang dy natin is equal to negative VIY squared over 2AY. So substitute lang natin yung mga values. So this one is negative of 5.6 meters per second and then square natin siya. Divide natin to sa 2 times negative 9.8 meters per second squared. So kung mapapansin nyo, makakancel din dito yung negative sign. So ang dy natin is equal to, so makukuha natin sagot dito is also 1.59 meters. So mapapansin nyo positive siya kasi again, yung movement ng jumper natin is going upwards. Yan. So ganyan lang po pagsosolve ng mga problem sa projectile motion for non-horizontally launched cases. So parating natin tatandaan dito na again yung ating horizontal velocity is just constant. So, ibig sabihin, ang AX natin is equal to 0. And then, meron din tayong acceleration due to gravity. So, yung AY natin is equal to negative 9.8 meters per second squared. And ang una nyo kailangang isolve dito, kapag nagsosolve kayo ng mga non-horizontally launched cases, is hanapin nyo muna yung VIX at saka yung ating VIY. Okay? So, hopefully, nakatulong sa inyo itong tutorial na to. So, kung meron pa kayong mga other topics sa physics na gusto niyo na ma-feature sa channel na to or gusto niyo gawan ko ng tutorial, mag-comment lang kayo sa ating comment section box. Okay, so who knows, baka yung suggestion nyo yung magiging next feature tutorial natin dito sa Midnight Mommy. So, see you again guys, and hopefully nakatulong to ng malaki sa inyo.